Good evening. This should be a quick, simple video on how to install a case drain on a Kubota KX 040. And this is a 2024. I think they're all pretty well the same, but the fittings may be slightly different. I got a parts list I'll go over real quick, but why bother doing this yourself? I got some quotes. Locally, the Kubota dealer wanted $1,100 to install a case drain line. Online, Mongo Attachments, for reference, had a kit that you could do yourself, but to buy the kit was about $900. So all the parts included for this, including a ton of hose wrap, which is kind of unnecessary, it was less than $300. So that's why it's worth the time. It's simple, and yeah, figured I'd do a how-to video on it. So the parts list, you need exactly 25 feet of 3/8 hydraulic line, and 25 feet gives you some slack, so you have a little bit of wiggle room for routing. I hose wrapped all 25 feet of it. You can imagine how fun that was, but I really like to do things thorough and would rather go a little overkill on that. You also need whatever style connector you have for your case drain. I like the flat face connectors, but you need that. You also don't need this, but I fabricated a steel bracket to mount the hose onto. Once again, it's unnecessary. I'm pretty OCD. I really like to be thorough with stuff. You don't need it. You could just zip tie this to your existing lines and it would be functional. That would drive me crazy, just knowing myself. So I built this bracket. Super simple. You also need some good, thick, heavy-duty zip ties for securing your hose along the route. And then this is probably the most important, unique piece. This is a British parallel 1/4 inch 90, and this goes straight into your hydraulic tank with no drilling and tapping, so I'll go over that part as well. And this may be different on different years of these, but on my machine, 1/4 inch British parallel to JIC is what I did for my hydraulic line. The dog is eating in the background, so sorry about that, but here's how I routed this rope that does not stretch, so I can measure for this hydraulic line for the case drain line. Then I have extra slack here, just in case, so that's why there's a big loop, and then in theory I plan to go in here. That is way longer than I would have guessed. This is a 25-foot tape measure, and it's pretty well exactly 25 feet of hydraulic line, which that's deceiving. Like I say, this is probably an unnecessary step. You could zip tie your case drain line to this. I just think this is cleaner and more secure. It would probably make more sense to feed this through the knuckle of the boom and work each way, but I already have this on, and I kind of already tightened this U-bolt around it, so it'd be hard to fit through there, so it'll be kind of backwards, but it should work. Like a glove. Make sure to cover the end of this so you don't get a bunch of debris inside of there. I'm going to do a couple zip ties just to hold it, hold the slack at this bend and everything. And if I have to cut them and reposition them, it's fine, but just so I don't accidentally take too much slack to the far end. Okay, this part is super awkward, not gonna lie. I just used the handle of a magnet, whatever, anything solid would work. Feed it down through there with that bundle of hoses and a route that's not getting pinched. And then this isn't going to be any spectacular cinematography, but hopefully it gets the idea. You can see I zip tied to the end of the hydraulic line to that handle and should be able to fish it back out to the other side. I think that's only, the only real difficult part. You can kind of see this isn't zip tied off yet, but that's the routing I went with. Trying to keep it protected in the middle of this And then there's from the inside. I plan to, tighten it down to there with zip ties out of harm's way in the middle. See how that goes. Sweet. Okay, so we've got this end over here. You can kind of see why I did the hose wrap now. It goes around a lot of bends and not super sharp corners, but something a lot of areas where it will rub on corners. So for reference, this is what 25 feet gets you. Should be a decent amount of slack. Okay, this is probably the most important part of the whole thing. So this goes right back into your tank. This is an existing plug. I'd show you with the camera, but I doubt it will pick it up. And that is where this British parallel 1/4 inch will go in. So then this thread's right in here. Oops, dropped this cap. I think I'm just gonna have it facing backwards like that, index it that way. Tighten this onto there, out of harm's way. And it should be good to go. I've seen other people use this, the fill cap, and then neck it down to adapt to that, but I don't really like that. If you have to fill fluid, you have to pull it apart. This is out of your way. Seems a lot cleaner to me. Nice. Okay, I'll show you the hose routing really quick, but first I want to kind of explain why this is so long. I would like to have it shortened up a little bit, but the K-strain line that my dealer built and sent me was probably 6 inches shorter than I would like, and I didn't want to have too little slack. So in the future, if I end up lengthening that hose, I can just cut this off and, shorten it up a little bit. So far though, I'm happy with how it lines up. I think I may do, I guess I'll go along the hose routing. Pretty happy with it right here. I guess we'll see after I work it some. I have some extra slack if I need it. I'm not sure, that's not super clean looking, so I might end up messing with that some. I think I will also grind with a flap wheel, I guess, to this edge just so it's not too sharp. You can see why I did hose wrap throughout. There's just a lot of hard points. I also ran up, I tested, you can see beneath that hydraulic cylinder, I tested, throughout the range of motion before I did that to make sure it didn't get too tight. And the reason I did that, I just wanted it to be cleaner along the boom. So that's what it looks like coming out the back of that. I went over top of this, there isn't quite space to go beneath that. Ran down here, tried to give extra slack everywhere I could. Not the best angles ever. I went beneath this little wiring loom for your lights. And then in here, that's what that looks like. I wanted to keep it towards the center. I didn't want it to get pinched in there. So I have zip ties at the corners, but I just wanted it to kind of free float in here. You can kind of see that. Once again, that's why I did hose wrap all the way. There's just a lot of metal edges. And then down here, there is an opening here. It's separate from that main bundle of factory hydraulic lines. I showed you guys in there. And then it comes up, this is the line. You can see there's a lot of slack still, which is what I wanted. Comes up and around, and then in the back. I could have come in to the front of this, but I just figured it'd be easier and less in harm's way to go the back route there. Well, hopefully that helped somebody. It seemed like it would be hard to get into that tank, but that British parallel 1/4 inch little 90 made it super easy, and it is a straight shot into the tank. I double checked. I just couldn't show it on camera very easily. So I've seen other people do it that way. It seems to work well. Seemed to be a straight, easy access to the tank without drilling and tapping, which I wanted to avoid for contamination. So yeah, pretty happy with it. Let me know if you have any questions.